Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Professor Jennifer Aaker as the moderator and interviewer. And Professor Jennifer Aaker is the General Atlantic Professor of Marketing, and she is a leading expert on how purpose and meaning shape the choices individuals make, and how money and time can be used in ways that cultivate long-lasting happiness, and particularly appropriate, how technology can positively impact human well-being. And Jennifer will be in conversation today with Yuan, the founder and CEO of Zoom. So I'll turn it over now to Jennifer. Jennifer?
Thank you, Brian. First of all, Eric, it's really a delight to have you here. I think, don't tell anyone else, but we think you are the most popular speaker in all of business and society. Brian didn't say that, the students didn't say that, but that's the feeling I have. Thank you so much for being here. We couldn't be more excited. I wanted to start off with a personal question. So some of the students have read that Zoom was founded due to love, and that you got the idea of starting Zoom during college in China when you were a 10-hour train ride away from your girlfriend, and you were only able to see her twice a year. And apparently you thought it'd be fantastic if there was a technology that would solve that problem. So the question is this true? And second, how did it all work out, both the relationship and your view on the technology?
Yeah, first of all, Jennifer and Brian, thank you so much for your invitation. It's my great honor to join this event, and thank you so much. That's a true story. And the good news, my girlfriend, also she's my wife now, and it's back to 1987, and I just became a freshman student, and I met her. And unfortunately, she was in a different college, 1 year older than me, and in a different city. Back to 1987 and 1988, if you ever had experience to ride on a train in China, you will know that horrible experience. I can stand there, sleeping without any problem, meaning so many people are just around me. And it's not that easy. There's no direct, train, and it took me almost more than 10 hours. And one day I thought about that, hey, in the future, maybe I can have a device, just a one click, I can talk with her, I can see her, that'd be cool. That's more like a daydream. I never thought about that, building a solution or business in the future just for that. Only until when we had the first prototype, of the product, I could connect the dots. And that's a part of this love story,
So I think that the lesson learned here is that we all need to fall in love and find a technology solution that will change the world. So over the last couple of months, the world has discovered Zoom. So to set the stage for us, can you give us a sense of the capacity you have developed in such a short period of time? So first, just thinking about January 2020, how many users, or what was the call volume then versus now? And how much has Zoom's workforce grown in that same period?
Yeah, that's by the way, back to love. I think love is indeed everything. Because of love, and when the pandemic crisis started, I talked with our team worked so hard. Our goal is no matter what, do all we can at no cost to help people stay connected. So we have our own data centers, and however, our capacity only reserved for twice of the peak time capacity. When pandemic crisis started, if we only leverage our own data center, there's no way for us to survive. The good news, because I was part of the WebEx team, back to 2001, because of 9/11, we already learned a hard lesson. Suddenly you have so many users. If you only have your own data center, it's really hard to be scalable. So good news from architecture perspective, we support a public cloud, meaning Amazon cloud. And later on we added Oracle cloud. We can add more capacity to leverage those public cloud infrastructure. So over the night and almost every night for a while, we had to add like 5,000, sometimes 6,000 servers, and do all we can to scale up our service. Good news, we survived and at no cost.
So talk us through that. How did you manage to press on the accelerator pedal so fiercely while adapting to new remote work demands? Were there kind of one or two insights of how you actually managed to do that?
I think first of all, the one thing we got to embrace the new reality. We know, a lot of people, they are going to work from home, right? From our perspective, we need to do all we can, to always scale up our service, to offer our tools like Zoom, right? To help people stay connected. At the same time, it's more like it's very open, it's always listen to our customers, get their feedback and quickly change. Listen to our employees. As long as you think about, you want to embrace the changes, right? You want to be open, transparent. I think everything else will follow.
We related to that, there's stories about how not only were you guys born based on love, but it was really this customer service. And during the early stages of Zoom, you would write to every customer who canceled your service. So at what point was that unsustainable? And also, what did you learn during those days when you would email individually these customers?
Yeah, so thank you for asking about that question. So, that has really given me a lot of a sweet story, memories. So in early stage, our service is a monthly subscription was only $9.99, less than $10 a month. And for the first several months, every time when we had a one paid subscribers, we all know that. We are so excited. Hey, today we have 5 paid subscribers. This is huge. 5 is a lot. When you lost one, 20% is gone, right? I feel like, wow, my 20% of paid subscribers, they are going to leave our service. That's why I send out them a personal email. Sometimes reply back, and I schedule a call to understand why. They tell us maybe the feature problem, maybe performance, so we are going to fix. Sometimes, interestingly enough, they don't believe that email was from me. They even believe in me. I remember one email like that. Zoom is not an honest company. How come your marketing focus impersonate you as a CEO send me this email? They do not trust what I wrote in the email. And then I need to reply back. I say, let's have a Zoom call. I'm indeed the real Zoom CEO. And because of that, guess what? Those users became very loyal to our service. But later on, I think I got so many emails because we have tens of thousands of paid subscribers every day. Because online subscribers, the churn is relatively high. If I still do that, I cannot do anything else. So I stopped. Yeah.
Moving fast often means breaking things. So first, do you agree with that question? It's a very Silicon Valley type of question. And second, if yes, what do you think you broke, and how might you fix it? And when I say you, I don't really mean you. I mean, like, what do you think, has broken, and how do you fix it?
I think I really like that Silicon Valley mantra. I think even today, I think from day one until today, I think every day a lot of things are still broken. That's the reason why we need to work harder, right? To keep fixing all those problems. If you think your business in perfect shape, something already very wrong. So having said that, our philosophy was always, as long as we do the right thing with great intention, speed is everything. Meaning we are not afraid of those problems. As long as we act quickly, as long as we focus on speed, we are going to be okay. The reason why is your competitors, they are going to have similar problems as well. If you can move faster than them, if you can fix the problem 1 day or 1 week or 1 quarter ahead of them, I think we can survive. So that's our philosophy.
If your differential advantage is speed, good intent and speed, what are 1 or 2, sort of secret ingredients that allow you to be so agile, that allow you to not only be that responsive, but also quick to tackle the challenge?
That's a good question. I think number one is about trust. When you build a business and you recruit a team member or your senior executives, if there's no trust, there's no speed. So, like at Zoom, we sort of make it mandatory. Everyone should read a book called Speed of Trust. Because if trust exists, it's relatively straightforward because every day they're full of problems. Even if I work for marketing department, if I see something wrong in the sales department, I'd like to talk to them. And because I trust them, because of that, we can fix lots of issues. Otherwise, we'll be hated.
First of all, that's fantastic. We're all going to read that book. As Zooming replaces in-person meetings, you're redefining human interaction. I'm curious about how you think Zoom impacts people's ability to connect and communicate with each other.
Yeah, so to help people stay connected is very important. I remember that, many years ago, quite often it's back to the speed, back to the trust. I found one thing is very interesting. We have employees, when I was still at Cisco, we have employees working remotely. And quite often I send them email or chat message and on a phone call. I worked together with them for almost 3 years. It's very hard to build a trust. They still do not know who I am. I also do not know who they are, right? In terms of relationship or all those, personal experience. Only until we turn on the video, you realize it's much easier to engage with your employees to build a trust. So it's back to the trust relationship. Another thing I really think is really help the productivity is, we also did a test before. During the call or meeting like this, if your video is off, human nature, 1/3 of the audience always multitasking. They all think they're smart. I can listen to you. I also can do something else. When you turn on the video, everything's changed. People is more engaged, easy to build a trust. That's why a video is the future of communication. Video is the new voice.
Can you talk about the 3 features that you are most excited to build out right now?
So, meaning the feature not ready in the roadmap or feature already available in the product?
That's a great question. Both? Can you do 1 or 2 of both?
Number one feature I like is virtual background. Because quite often I talk with the customers, I cannot be there physically, but the 5 minutes before the meeting, I use the customers, the headquarter office, or maybe their logo, like I'm using the GSP campus as my virtual background. I feel I'm there already virtually. That's the number one feature. A number 2 feature for sure is like some consumer features like touch up your appearance, a lot of cool features, and we are going to double down on that. However, I think there are some very cool features in the pipeline. I'm not saying they are going to be ready soon, but it might take many years effort. We got to partner with others, like real-time language translation. Today, you look at today's the worldwide problems, quite often just the culture, misunderstanding. They do not speak the same language, the language barrier. Imagine a world where they can use Zoom and you speak, say English, I won't understand Japanese, Mandarin, with artificial intelligence, with real-time language translation. World is going to be a much better place. And some other features also in the roadmap, like I want to shake hands with you, Jennifer, but you cannot feel like that, right? In the future with AI, sensor technology, I think a lot of cool features will be added into Zoom. Ultimately, our goal is to build a solution like Zoom to deliver a better experience than face-to-face meeting.
First of all, I can't wait for sanitized handshaking. That sounds like a perfect feature. People report being fatigued after spending long hours on Zoom. I'm sure you've experienced that. Why do you think that is, and how do you think we should address it?
That's a great question. For the first several weeks, I already found that as well. I can tell you, I think that in April, one of the peak days, I had a total 19 Zoom meetings. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of Zoom meetings sometimes. The reason why is because you feel like for the first several days, you like that experience, but you always talk to people, you feel like you stay connected. But compared to the face-to-face meeting, like a physical gathering, is still totally different experience. The more meeting like this, you more feel like you truly miss the real face-to-face meeting. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is because you always, because you work from home, you tend to have more meetings. Quite often you have a back-to-back meetings, and you even do not have time to stretch yourself.
Right.
And also you might have a mental problem. That's another reason for the fatigue. So for now, I had no idea how to fix that. The only way is to make sure focus on the virus, right? Have a vaccine technology, and then everyone can back to office to work.
Okay, good to know. Everyone on Zoom right now, all 270 of them, we can start working on that. I teach a class called Humor Serious Business, and we are on Zoom for 6 hours on Tuesdays from 3 to 6 and 6 to 9. And so some of the students encouraged us to, really enjoy the opportunity to think about, spicing things up a little bit. So for example, they've considered Zooming in goats, llamas. This is Jensen right here, Eric, with her goat, and the goat made guest visits to our class. What is the most sort of interesting Zoom, either prank or use of Zoom that you've experienced in the last couple months?
I think, two things. And back to your first question about the fatigue question, I forgot to mention that. So we also have a daily sync up meeting, and we found one thing is before we ended the meeting, we pick up one person to share a happy story and about any happy story, right? Try to fix that problem. So back to this question, I think there are so many new use cases over the past several weeks. I never thought about that, like a happy hour, online wedding ceremony, and the healthcare, and and telemedicine. One of the use cases I feel very interested, very proud is, you can, the Zoom marriage is legal in New York. So, and that's pretty interesting. And also that's probably the most interesting use cases.
Have you gone to a Zoom wedding, Eric?
I got some pictures, but I did not join any live Zoom wedding ceremony.
Okay, are you willing to be on the record that if any Stanford GSB student has a Zoom wedding in the next month and they invite you, you might Zoom bomb in or visit?
I'm committed. I'm going to Zoom bombing in.
You guys heard it. Now, Zoom started as an enterprise product. What do you think is the long-term use case for these social interactions? So for example, do you want to be a Facebook, or and relatedly, how do you think of your competition moving forward?
So our company, the DNA, is still to serve large enterprise and business customers. That's still our bread and butter. So I think after the pandemic crisis, we still want to relentlessly focus on that. But during this pandemic crisis, our number one goal is to help the world, to show our corporate social responsibility. That's why we do all we can at no cost to embrace every new use cases. I do not think we will compete against Facebook, and it's totally different business. I think that in the future, we truly believe video and voice, those two are going to be converged into one service. So meaning a lot of enterprise customers, their business phone system, will be converged with video conferencing, will be the same system. Huge opportunity. So we are going to work on that. And back to the consumer use cases, we're also thinking very hard, how to add some some new fun elements into that. Like when I joined your GSB wedding ceremony, ideally we should build in a button like, hey, send you a gift. One click, send the gift to others. Make it is more like not only for a video collaboration, more like a platform, and also help others. They even can build a business upon our platform. So the platform play is going to play a big role for our future consumer strategy.
I love the fact that your LinkedIn tagline says delivering happiness to our users. Your happiness is my happiness, but you can tell that that where your mind is going is highly aligned with that. Can you talk about the aspects of how people are working using Zoom and other online tools that you find to be problematic, and how you hope to resolve through product innovation some of those more problematic challenges?
I think that different product had different challenges. When it comes to Zoom, and our goal, the philosophy when we started is to build the most frictionless collaborating experience, focus on ease of use. Let you just one click to join rather than 2 clicks, and do all we can make it very, very easy. That's our goal. However, the challenge comes from potential privacy issue, or maybe security. I give one example. We already fixed that. Used to be like 2 months back, if we have joined the Zoom meeting, the Zoom meeting ID is going to be displayed on the Zoom video window, because easy for others to know the meeting ID to join. However, there's a problem is for now, some people are so excited, they share the screen to the social media. If your meeting has no password, guess what? They can Zoom bombing into your meeting, right? It's kind of usability and privacy is always need to have a trade-off. Our challenge for now, the challenge before was focused on usability. Now I realize, no, we got to focus on privacy and security, right? This is our challenge. Overall, I think if you really want to focus on the ease of use, you got to have a trade-off. I think almost every business services, they are facing this kind of a challenge. Specifically, we build a service for enterprise customer. You do not see any other companies in the history. They build for enterprise business over the night. You need to serve so many first-time consumers, right? It's totally unexpected. That's a challenge also.
Do you feel like that was a miss, like the security concerns and the Zoom bombing? Do you view that as kind of a natural trade-off, or do you kind of view that as a miss, or like, I wish I could have, seen that coming earlier on and tackled it? How do you view that?
It's a great question. It's not a natural trade-off. So when we talk with like a business enterprise customers, normally there's a POC, right? And meaning, our team working together with enterprise team, we have all, kinds of security features built in. The enterprise IT will decide which one to enable, which one to disable, and then have an official onboarding process, train their users, and then start using Zoom. That's normally for enterprise customer to become our customer. However, back to consumers, they on the first day, they sign up an account and start using Zoom. There's no sort of onboarding process. I think we need to change our business practice. Not only do we offer a service to customers, but also play a role of IT, meaning we should on day one enforce those security features. Like we should enforce password, enforce waiting room, and remind you of how to lock the meetings. Make the first time users easily to access all those security features. Looking back, I think we should have done a better job, right? And to serve those first time users, those consumers.
Can you talk about the technologies like Zoom widening inequalities? For example, students without internet access can't take online classes right now. Is that something that you're thinking about and planning to address as Zoom becomes a larger and more impactful organization, or how do you think about that?
That's a great question. So, back to internet, right? So, a lot of people, take it for granted, thought everyone has that internet access. That's not the case. Even, for users here, sometimes, inequality, it's become a social problem, right? Internet access, right? How to help all those families, right? Do all we can to help them. Plus even for some business customers, right? Internet, sometimes, the quality not good. This is more like a technology innovation. right? We need to focus on both sides. One is a social problem, which need to always kind of help. Another one is about a technology problem. We need to keep working hard to improve the product and experience.
Love to talk about education for a second. You have single-handedly changed completely my life, not to mention every other faculty and student member of Stanford and broader. Can you talk a little bit about your view on education, particularly in the US? Some upsides and downsides of a Zoom-enabled education system.
Yeah, if you talk about a higher ed, let's table the K-12 schools. I think US has the best higher ed system. Better than any other countries, are far, far ahead than others. The reason why is because of the structure, innovation, and the system, and a very healthy ecosystem. Take Stanford, for example. Every time I visited Stanford after I came back, I was full of energy. I can recharge myself. You see that, the overall the culture for those great, the universities. However, opposite is how to kind of have more students. Not everyone, right? They can, kind of join your class, right? And how to leverage the technology, right? Like some students probably in Pittsburgh or Phoenix, right? They can join online class, right? Some people, they register physically here, and how to kind of leverage the technology to share the experience, to have more students who may not have, I think, the time or resources, to join this kind of class. I think that's one. Another thing is how to make sure, and in the future, even after the pandemic crisis, give some students more flexibility, even if they join the register to Stanford, right? Sometimes they might want to travel for 1 week or 2 months. They still can enjoy the class, right? Because this pandemic crisis completely changed the way for us to learn, to live, and work.
Absolutely. Are there any downsides as you think about, like for, you being a Stanford alumni, kind of putting yourself back here, and we've got our 250 students. They're all going to graduate in a week. I guess thinking about it from that perspective, are there any downsides to this more Zoom-enabled education system?
I don't think experience like Zoom can replace that experience. It's more like a complementary to what we used to be like, physical gathering in the campus. I still think by and large, I think this campus, centric education still the mainstream, because you all have wonderful campus. You can bond together with your classmate, and those kind of physical gathering and, kind of work, I think learn together. That experience cannot be replaced. Otherwise, I remember that I was at GSB in 2006. I think the reason why I really like, because I live in the campus. I really miss that time. And the day when I left, I was sort of like, wow, I just realized how great that experience was. I think spend more time in the campus, and every year also coming back. Don't always go online. I say online just, I think a small portion of that experience.
As a kind of love letter, so to speak, to these students who are graduating in a week, what would you say are your top 2 or 3 features that you would like to build out if you just think of education, grad school at Stanford as a vertical, and you're going to go deep into that vertical? What would be the top 2 or 3 features that you would like to build out?
I think one feature is more like we already have a sort of like a breakout room, right? I think how to improve that experience, like a breakout room normally managed by the host. I think it's one student, another student, they want to have their own breakout session, right? Those two, I want to learn, from each other, right? Learn this subject. This feature, I think we should be added in. Another feature is more like to improve our meeting transcription feature. Sometimes, I miss the class, or maybe during the class doing something else. We should have real-time meeting transcription, right? From speech to text, right? That's the second feature. The third one is more like, we also are doing that as well, more like a summary. If I missed the class and I needed to play back for 45 minutes, ideally Zoom can leverage AI technology to generate like a 5-minute summary. And with that, I think probably 5 minutes, I'm not saying we can, but at least give students a summary about the topic of this class.
Got it. I want to ask a couple questions. We have like about 8 more minutes, and then I'll open it up to some student questions as well. A few personal questions. So we live in such a surreal time right now. Certainly you couldn't ever imagine that this idea of this, your relationship with your girlfriend would lead into this remarkable moment in time. What has surprised you the most about your life right now, personally?
I also, along with others, always think about working from home. And I think that should be a great experience. I think I'm completely wrong. To always work from home is pretty tough. It's not easy. I think that's very surprised. And a lot of people mentioned that you become busier. And we also did a survey, more employees might have mental problems. I think, we got to think about that. You cannot always think about working from home. You got to think about maybe go back to office 1 week, come back to home. It's got to have a hybrid. So that's the most surprised experience.
What has changed in your life in the last couple of months, and what has stayed the same?
What changed, I realized, to hang out with friends and with colleagues, with other leaders is very, very important. And that's one thing I miss the most. Because quite often I have a lunch or dinner with some customers, with other CEOs I want to learn from, and it's really hard. I really miss that experience. What has started changed is, I keep using Zoom. I still enjoy using that. And it's pretty much most of it remains the same. Yeah.
What keeps you up at night? And what is the first thing you think of in the morning?
The first thing I think in the morning is about how to make sure our employees, they still feel happy. And this is the number one thing, I also include myself, because we always told our employees, when you wake up, the first question you should ask about yourself, do you feel happy or not? If you do feel happy, used to be, please come to office to work. If you do not feel happy, you can stay at home to figure out the root cause. So for me as a CEO, my number one job is to make sure our employee happy. During this pandemic crisis, some employee, the family member or maybe got, impacted. And, I think about a lot, how to make sure all of our employees happy.
A lot of our research shows that the meaning of happiness shifts over the life course, that it moves from excitement to conquering the world, to balance, to impact, and then to sort of peacefulness or meaning in savoring. What would you say when you say you want your employees to be happy and that's what you wake up with? How are you defining happiness?
Yes, it's a great question. So, and maybe a little bit of story actually, it's boils down to the purpose of life. When I moved to Silicon Valley, I worked so hard. I helped WebEx to become a public company. I remember on the day when WebEx went public, I suddenly got lost because I always had a question about the purpose of life. And suddenly I felt very down. I do not know the purpose of life. But later on, I realized the purpose of life is about happiness. And the sustainable happiness comes from making others happy. As long as every day you think about how to make others happy, you'll be happy. You'll be happier. And that happiness is very sustainable.
That was a really good answer, Eric. You must have done a lot of work around behavioral psychology. Can you talk a little bit about another personal question? You applied 9 times to get your visa to the United States. Why did you keep applying? Did you ever consider giving up?
So that's good practice. for me to start a company in the future, right? But anyway, so the reason why is, I like sports, like watching the soccer game or basketball game. I'm a huge fan of NBA. When you play sports, you never wanted to give up. And I never wanted to give up when I tried to apply visa. I told myself, unless they told me that they rejected me forever, otherwise I will keep trying. And the good news, I tried eight times. The next attempt, I was successful. By the way, it's pretty good. I already prepared for 20 times. So I already beat my goal. So that's good. So
I love that. I'm going to go 20 times. 8 is a win. That's fantastic. A couple other questions, and then I'll bring in some student questions as well. What do you want your legacy to be?
Someday in the future, when they write down a book, a story about pandemic, crisis, COVID-19 story, I hope they remember there's a company called Zoom did the right thing for the world to have the people stay connected.
Great. And I'm going to end my questions with some lightning round questions. And Eric, do you remember these from like View from the Top or other things? These are fast, rapid fire questions. You can't think, you just have to answer. Okay, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Sure.
All right. Coupa or Arbuckle?
Coupa.
Fun Zoom background or plain Zoom background?
Fun Zoom background.
Ideal number of people in a breakout room?
Breakout room.
All right, ideal number of people in a breakout room? I know it's not a yes or no.
5 people.
5. Oh. Favorite app of choice?
Choice. Favorite choice.
Yeah, what's your favorite app?
Zoom.
Zuckerberg or Bezos?
Both.
Best way to avoid Zoom fatigue?
Go play sports, don't use Zoom.
Favorite startup idea you recently heard
of? Sell goods or give gifts on Zoom platform.
And favorite GSB memory?
Everything about it.
Oh. Guys, I would really encourage you all to get married this month on Zoom. Eric's gonna get you a gift. Okay.
Not only this month, anytime. I'm a huge fan of GSB. Anytime.
What about remarriages? I'm happily married right now, but I am willing to explore a divorce and a remarriage if that offer is open.
That's a great idea. I will follow you as well.
All right, guys, this has been a really productive business and society lecture. All right, I'm going to bring in a few student questions that are coming live from our non-chat situation, but they apply a lot more to some of the COVID kind of experiences that we found. So some students would like to ask you, can Zoom be a great leveler that convinces East Coast people that the West Coast offices are equivalent to being there in New York or Boston? What Zoom features would help with that?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think technology like Zoom is not ready for that. And we need to keep working harder and to add some features to make sure actually there's no distance when you use Zoom. For now, you feel like Zoom is still a virtual experience. As I mentioned earlier, our goal is to deliver a much better experience than face-to-face meeting. If we can reach that goal, I think we can achieve that dream. Yeah.
You mentioned there's a lot of interest around this idea of what really is human interaction. In our AI class, we teach a class called Designing AI for Human Well-Being, and it goes into this idea of like, what does it really mean to be human? One of the students asked you mentioned wanting Zoom to be better as to enable these in-person human interactions. Is there anything that you think is unique to in-person interactions that just can't be replaced?
I believe everything can be replaced. Just be patient. And like one example, see, Jennifer, you are drinking a coffee, right? It's in the future, one click, we can leverage technology to digitize the smell. I can enjoy the smell here. When you drink a coffee, all those technology will be ready in the future. Everything can be replaced.
Interesting. We're going to have to talk about that later. I don't know if I agree with you, but it's a very provocative question. Have you examined neuroscience research related to virtual connection? And if so, what have you learned?
I think virtual connection is the only way to help you connect with as many people as possible. That's the only way. There's no any other ways. And with the technology, I think the experience will be very unprecedented, meaning a lot of things you think about before, like all those movies, right? One click, you can feel like you're sitting together with someone in the same physical office and with totally different background. You can make a friendship and very quickly, timely manner. I think a lot of things can be achieved with what you experience.
How do you think the end of the quarantine or this this next phase, when we're able to kind of reintegrate, will affect the use of Zoom? So how will Zoom maintain its advantage in the future to stay sort of top of mind and customers' favorites?
So for sure, when we go back to office after this pandemic crisis, the way for us to use Zoom also is different than the way we used Zoom before. Because Zoom only used for business communications or maybe online class or telemedicine before. For now, I think a lot of new use cases experienced over the past several months will stay. That's for sure. Another thing is people will realize to work from home might be okay. That's why in the future, a lot of hybrid working environment, right? Maybe 1 week working from home, 1 week in the office, and for online class might be the same.
How do you foresee growth through acquisition in the near future for Zoom to drive innovation using AI? So there's interest in understanding your vision for growth through acquisition.
That's a great question. So, and we are also, beefing up our corporate BD team. And whoever asked about this question has any good ideas, please let me know. The question is awesome because organic growth can really help you to grow to a level where you suddenly feel like your organic growth cannot be sustainable, right? That's why we just acquired our first acquisition, the K-Base. It's a New York-based company. I think, to help us, like those technology, the new market opportunities, we need to be, open-minded, right? To look at, are there any other companies or technology to help us?
All right, you guys heard that. You're supposed to Zoom Eric if you have ideas there. With so many video products, FaceTime, BlueJeans, Google, Skype, WebEx, et cetera, Teams out there before Zoom with similar technology, can you talk about 2 ingredients that made you succeed in that crowded space? I know we talked about the core being love, the core being customer centricity, the ability to have trust and an ability to be agile. But are there any other features that you think made it so that Zoom became such a leader?
I think first of all, the first ingredient is don't look at competitors. If you look at the competitors, I even do not dare to start Zoom because there's so many solutions out there already. Always focus on your customers, on your users. Don't focus on competitors. That's number 1. As number 2 is about your architecture. Make sure your architecture very scalable, sustainable, secure. Otherwise, whenever there's something like this pandemic crisis, one of the key reasons why some of the competitors, their solution not scalable because of architecture. From our perspective, we do not need to change our architecture. Those scalability, security, and the performance are already built in compared to any other competitors.
Great. Your parents were both mining engineers, and mining is an industry that certainly evolved and has been forced to change dramatically. Is there anything you've learned with observing your parents and how that industry changed that you can apply to your own business and more broadly the video conferencing space?
Yeah, sorry, my parents is a background in geology, the engineers, and not mining. I think that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will correct the students. They clearly did not do their homework, but it's very close.
No, their homework right. I think that's back to the social media news reporter. Sometimes the story may not be right, but anyway, I think I don't think because of their the background for sure. I went to the college with that background. Right? Is I did not go to the top tier universities. Just if I'm like mining or geology related, the university, the college, that's probably the biggest influence. However, I did learn, one thing from my father is, hard work, stay humble, no matter what you do.
What is your favorite food that your mom makes you or made you for lunch?
I can tell you, I work from home. The one thing I really like most is, and every morning my mom, gave me a, kind of cooked breakfast, and also lunch, and dinner is my wife and the mom together. Anything cooked by my mom, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that because you sort of, give you a lot of, especially my age, right? Let it remind me of when I was a kid. My mom cooked for me for now, and I'm already age 50. Every day when I eat the food cooked by mom, I'm full of gratitude.
Oh, that's adorable. Not only that, but your parents are impressive for different reasons. Another question that's more hard-hitting than favorite food that your mom made. One of our students wants to know, do you, could AI help participants understand micro cues and micro facial expressions? I'm not sure if that was AI, but can you talk a little bit about understanding people's micro cues or micro facial expressions? So how might you think about enhancing human connection through Zoom by these kind of more visual cues?
Yeah, so great question. For now, the technology is not ready, but it will be. Essentially based on AI, like, hey, when I switch a topic, like a face detection, can tell me, hey, slow down. Audience may not understand. I think, AI and video technology and face detection, all those technologies will achieve that goal.
I want to know what are 2 or 3 questions or challenges that you want to toss out to our students. We've got 270 students online ish, and you're a huge celebrity. They are so excited to basically absorb everything you're saying. What would be 2 or 3 challenges or questions you'd like to pose them?
I think the first one is make sure you know the purpose of life. That's number 1. Number 2, think about what you can do differently to the world, and also what you can do to contribute back to GSB.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we're so incredibly thankful for what you've given back to us in so many ways, right? Not just today, in your time with us today, in such an important class that Brian and the team actually created out of nothing. And just the invention of this class is a great testament to not just the contribution of you being here, but also the contribution of Zoom. So we're so incredibly grateful for what you've been able to do, and it's a great sort of inspiration for others as well. I'd like to end on a final note, which is a reminder to everyone to build technologies based on love, and to know the purpose of life before you leave. You've got 1 more week. So Eric's ready to help you out. and think about what you can do that's bigger than yourself. Thank you so much, Eric. We really, really appreciate your time. Brian, thank you so much for enabling this to happen.
Thank you both. It was a really great conversation. I was happy to be able to hear it. And again, I'd add my thanks to Jennifer. Eric, it's been great to have you here. And thanks for the technology. We've used it quite a bit here recently at the GSB. And it's great to have you here to talk about it. And I will echo what Jennifer said to the students. You have 1 week to discover the meaning of life and joy. So don't waste it. Waste the time. So again, Eric, thank you so much. And I hope you had a great time. I'm sure the students learned a lot, and enjoy the rest of your day.